It's Movie Time. It's produced by John DeSando. Listen to the full shows and read reviews online at WCBE.org.
I'm John DeSando.
I'm Wayne Miller.
This is It's Movie Time.
It is John and I. We are in early 19th century England.
But wait a minute, I'm confused. This is Easter time, right?
Yes, yes,
The film is Peterloo.
yes.
So I'm wondering, is it Peter Rabbit looking for the restroom?
For some reason, I thought that's where you were going. Yeah, going to the loo.
Anyway, this is the writer-director is Mike Leigh, one of
Yes.
my absolute favorites from England.
Yep.
And Peterloo, what?
Excellent movie. And it starts out with the aftermath of the Battle of Waterloo.
Wow.
And I think, and that says a lot right there, because the ruling houses of Europe wanted to squash any other type of rebellions
The
coming
French
out.
Revolution was not a good...
And this is the cusp of the Industrial Revolution. We get, people are transitioning from more of an agrarian life to an industrial life there. And they're a little ticked off. The populace is ticked off at the ruling class.
Well, like 2 or 3% of them can vote.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you want? And you have these fat administrators.
I bet one of my favorite parts of this movie, and I like this movie, I would say that right up front, are the four magistrates. And what was kind of cool, early in the movie, you get their style of justice with little vignettes in their courtroom of some of these poor people. One guy sentenced to the penal colony in Australia for stealing a watch, and another guy who is condemned to death for supposedly stealing a coat. And some of these people,
Well, as you were
excellent.
reminding me last night, was Jean Valjean or whatever?
Yes, Les Miserables, because PBS has just started a 6-part series, not a musical, because we expect all the peasants to start singing. This one doesn't. And it also, intriguing enough, starts at the Battle of Waterloo, the aftermath of it. And one of the characters say to the other ones, "Wow, this is great. Got rid of that, that terrible person that rose through the ranks, Napoleon, and now we're going to go back. We're reinstalling the king." And so these people, it's across the board. What I thought was interesting, about 30 years after the French Revolution.
Okay, so we're talking 1819 in Manchester, England.
Yes.
It's called the Manchester Massacre,
Yes.
or Peterloo.
Peterloo,
Yeah.
kind of a takeoff on Waterloo.
Right. Oh, yeah.
The Duke of Ellington.
Well, what Mike Leigh is, it's a bit of a departure for Mike Leigh, who's most famous for Secrets and Lies. But almost all of his films, like Ken Loach, is about the working class. And he has a real good ear for the language of the working class and the feelings. Now, this takes off a little bit. It's a little bit more confrontational. It's a little bit more political. It's much more global. So it's a different take for Mike Leigh. But I still find his genius there for people, and particularly for the underclass.
Yes. And like you said, the language.
Yes.
I bet it was really, especially some of the politicians.
Yes.
It's really quite interesting.
Oh, I
They were
know.
trying to appeal to the few of the masses who could vote.
Well, the hero is it Henry Hunt?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, he's a demagogue of sorts.
Oh my God! Yes, he was quite interesting, and one of the characters kind of described him, as vainglorious.
But he was the one who was going to pull everybody together at this peaceful demonstration.
Yes.
Played by Rory Kinnear, apparently a very popular TV guy in England.
And I recognized him. And I think that was one of the beauties of this movie. There really weren't any. They were great actors and actresses, but and they looked familiar, but there wasn't a name among them.
No.
And that's what probably will hurt at the box office. There's nobody to kind of hang it on.
Right.
Here's a so-and-so movie to go see.
Or even to see Timothy Spall, who used to be Mike Leigh's favorite actor.
Yes.
And I'll tell you, one of the things that of the things that interests me is, I guess, just what you're saying. There's not as much of an emphasis on individual personalities developed, except maybe for Hunt.
Yes.
Mostly, it seems that Lee is concerned about people knowing what happened and depicting it in a way that you can't forget it. And I'll use the example. What the heck is it with this young man from Waterloo wearing?
Yeah, with the PTSD, I thought at the beginning it was going to be about one working class family.
Yeah.
But they were just one of a great ensemble
Yes.
of people, and they all had their certain quirks. The Home Secretary with a bit of a stammer, several of the magistrates, excellent. Several of the other people, just a little bit of eccentric behavior.
How about that? How about the Prince Regent?
Oh my God! Yes,
I think Lee went a little over the top on that guy.
You know, it makes you wonder if maybe he was a descendant of Queen Anne.
Right,
That movie we saw that took place about 100 years before this, but that faint trace of rouge and lipstick
I know,
on this
completely decadent.
corpulent.
He's got his champagne.
I know.
You know, one of the other things, I did see Mike Lee and his ensemble for one of his films at Toronto.
Oh.
And there with him was his longtime friend, cinematographer Dick Pope.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you, Wayne, some, his previous film, Turner,
Yes.
some of those shots are absolutely 19th century Malay paintings.
Yes, you know, and I even wrote that down here in a note because it does remind me of not only kind of the landscape, the great landscape artist, but also I think it was Hogarth that did, you know, some of how the peasants.
Yes.
And some of these people I met, that was excellent. Some of the best acting overall of an ensemble, and that's what really took me to it. The other thing that I thought was really quite interesting that made you feel for the populace is that when they were all going to go there, and I think it was what upset some of the upper class was that it was a working day. It was like a Monday or whatever, and they were going like they were going to a Sunday picnic in their Sunday finest, you know, all these lower class families, and they were looking forward to it. They were going to have a good time with their little picnic lunches and carrying flowers and everything.
Oh, it was true.
What a rude awakening.
Right, it was obviously a peaceful march for them. One of the first ones, but I'll tell you, one of the good spin-offs of this that I think Lee does a good job with is the reporting.
Yes, and in something that came up, not only did it really awaken a call for democracy for the masses, but also for journalism.
Yes.
And I think they mentioned the Manchester Guardian or
and
something.
And that is the beginning of the Guardian, which is today and has been a liberal organ for who knows how long, or at least a supporter of the working class. Great stuff. It's here. It's the beginning. It's where a lot of that after the French Revolution took place in England, and just a mention aside, it isn't difficult to make the correlation with today.
Yes. Oh, definitely. Yeah. And as you look at authoritarian response to mass demonstrations.
Yes. Thank you.
And this is what really intrigued me too, that I was really caught up in watching the first episode of Les Miserables on PBS, and how it led to the 1832 and the people manning the barricades and everything. So here, a scant 30 years after the French Revolution, and the American Revolution, I thought some of the phrases that they used in talking about equality and fraternity and some of the liberté, from the French Revolution, but also when they're being dragged out and they're saying, "Give me liberty or give me death."
Right, I know.
I thought, wow, thanks, Britain for copying an American patriot, but the people manning the barricades in 1832, and that was one of the things I've always been intrigued by watching any movie version, but also the stage version of Les Miserables.
Yes, yeah.
And that the people weren't going to be kind of held down.
No,
and I
yeah.
think this was kind of, I think England probably did a better job than a place like France in at least giving some, back, democracy back to the people.
Yeah, and laced throughout this is the fear of that French Revolution. And
Yes.
And I think
Yeah.
you could see the administrators, I think we mentioned that earlier, in real fear
Yes,
of the
of
people
one-
as they should have been.
Lopping off their heads, yes. And so they had to go to, and I thought really quite intriguing as the cavalry were all getting soused and drinking. And then it's kind of like, okay, get on your horse. And of course, the one guy, the one general, who early on we thought, are we going to follow him?
Well, he
in
was
his
appointed.
reaction?
He was appointed.
Yeah.
And he didn't even show.
He said, oh, I've got important things to do. And he's at the races.
I know.
And he
Yeah.
takes off, leaves it to some colonel. But my God, these drunken cavalrymen charging into the crowd,
Well, yeah.
just stabbing at
Yeah,
will and
well, they
smashing away.
I think there might have been some caution in the orders to bring order there,
Yeah.
and they just decided it was a chance to shoot and stab
Yes.
a bunch of people.
Yeah, my God, they seemed like they were on a fox hunt or whatever.
I know.
And just especially the one guy we thought we were going to follow, the young soldier
Yes.
who was wandering dazed on the battlefield
Yeah.
of Waterloo, gets back home, and since you had mentioned about how we could draw parallels to the modern times. Here, this guy gets back there, his family not knowing what to do,
Right.
almost like the returning veteran who's got a severe case of PTSD.
Yeah.
It never seemed like, because this took place like about 4 years after Waterloo, still wearing his uniform
Right.
that's getting dirtier
A really nice motif, because
Yes.
obviously that blazing red stands right out,
Yes.
and it becomes more deteriorated as he goes along. But still, he's the only person in a shot with that kind of red
Yes,
outfit.
it stands out. Almost like in Spielberg's
Yes.
Schindler's List, the
Got
little
it.
girl in the red coat.
It's right.
And so, as one of the cavalrymen near the end charges up to him and says, "Here you go, soldier boy," or something like that, runs him through,
Yeah, I know.
with
Yeah.
the sword, and then the ending on at his little funeral.
Well, Wayne Miller, the
Yes.
film is Peterloo. Now,
Yeah.
I believe I've had 2 different dates for its opening. The one I had was for today,
Yes.
the 19th.
Yes.
The next one I had was for the next week. So if it doesn't show today,
Yeah.
it will be on next week.
Okay.
But as it's typical of its movie time, we are ahead
Yes.
here in our discussion.
And I suppose that they'll probably be able to see it at places like Gateway and Drexel.
Yes, correct, yeah.
I'd be surprised if it gets a mass release, because it just may not appeal. I would strongly recommend anybody going to see it.
Yeah. All right, Wayne Miller, Peterloo, what grade would you award it?
I'm giving it an A.
Oh boy, I wish I could give it something lower, but I can't. It's Michael Lee. It's an A.
Yes. Well worth saying.
All right.
Yeah.
Good.